Alright, so this is part 2 in a series of training videos for point inventory count. This will have come after you have provisioned devices and created locations, which was covered in a previous video. So now that we have created locations and provisioned the devices, it's time to start a count. So as you can see here, I have a couple of Android devices on the screen here, and over here I have control point and RMS. So there are a couple of different ways to start a count. It can either be done here through the control point, or it can be done through the devices themselves. I'm going to go ahead and do one from the control point first. So what we're going to do here is come up to Inventory, Physical Counts. I'm going to go ahead and create a new count. Here we can title it whatever we want. I'm going to say Count 1. Let's do it in Portland. You can put a description down here. And there's a couple of options here as well. You can add it to on-hand quantities, which would basically be like a quick receive if you didn't want to go through the whole count process. It also handles master packs, just in the same way that RMS does. So clicking next is going to take you to the workstation page. Here you want to select what workstations you want involved in the count. So it's going to list all of the different devices that have been provisioned under this location. We're going to go ahead and select both of them. This screen, you can assign a scope to the count. So we can go through all the departments, all the different categories, some cycle counts, A, B, C. We can create our own custom cycle or scoped count and apply that. For this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and select sporting goods and all of the items. So now we'll go ahead and save and start the count. So at this point, it creates this count up at the control point level, and that count will also be displayed on the devices here. So I'm going to go ahead and open these up, and on that one you can see count 1. Get into this one as well. Now the software that I'm using to display the screens on the computer itself, we're creating a little bit of a lag here, so it is a bit quicker. Alright, so both of those devices are now involved in this count 1. So we can open that up on both of them and begin counting. Okay, so I'm just going to count a few items on both of these to build some data here. Now you can see on this device it's telling me that it's out of scope. That's because we set a scope there. So this is where the flag is going to show up. It's also going to show up under the count on the control point. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple here. So we added a couple to that device. Now on this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I have a Bluetooth scanner for this one, so it's going to go a bit quicker. So on this one, I just scanned a girl's bike, which in RMS is a serialized item. So it's asking me for the actual serial numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and scan a few in here. So for each item that you enter a serial number, you push add, and that adds that serialized item with that serial number. So we added a couple there. Go back to the count. Also going to show you what it looks like when you scan an item that is not recognized as being in the database. It's going to give you the option to create a new one, which I'll go ahead and do here. This cup. The next screen. Let's say, because we're in a scoped count of sporting goods, let's go ahead and put it in there. We can also take a picture of the item. Go ahead and do that. So that item is now going to be created at the control point, and then also if we're using the RMS connector, it'll be pushed into RMS with the picture as well as the item detail that we added. All right, so another fairly common scenario would be that someone scanned a barcode into the quantity field or just miskeyed the actual quantity. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Looks like we've both counted a basketball, so that'd be a good one to do it on. So I'm going to go ahead and change the basketball quantity for this device to a pretty high number here. That would be fairly obvious. So go here. Okay, so at this point we've added some items to the count. We've got some serial items in there. We've got items that both devices counted. We've also got a new item in there. So I'm going to go over to the control point, come into this count, and I'm going to go ahead and stop it. First off, these things down here are alerts. So these 3 red boxes mean that multiple devices counted them. Green means that they are good to go, and then red means that they have been flagged, probably because they're out of scope. I know this right here because these are not sporting good items. Once we went into those, it would show us that it was outside of the scope of sporting goods. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Okay. But then I'm going to say, okay, let's look at this basketball. Looks like there's a pretty high delta percentage. And then also in these pajamas, but it looks like only one device counted these. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what a recount looks like on this item here. So it looks like device 2 counted quite a few more than device 1 did, so we can go ahead and flag that and send it back for a recount. So that's actually going to send out a count to device 2 for just basketballs. So I'm not going to commit this yet. I go back over to the devices, pull these open. Now, when I back out to the different counts, it's going to show me that device 1 is all done. There are no counts that it needs to participate in at this point. But device 2 has a recount here, and it's going to be for that basketball. So we can go ahead, click on basketball, say, you know what, there were only 25. And we can now go back into the count control point. It's going to have the recount, which we can go ahead and stop. And we can come out here to both of the counts, and we can actually merge these. Go ahead and merge it. So this count has the count data from both of these combined in one. It's going to give you a more accurate count because we went back and recounted the item that had been miscounted. So we'll go ahead and stop this, push OK. So there's actually going to be a physical inventory sheet created in RMS, just like if you created it through RMS, for both counts as well as the recount. It's going to show you all your counted expecteds and deltas just like it would if it was a normal count. So now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and commit it without zeros. And you'll see these quantities here update based on these quantities. Okay. Okay, so everything just changed that we counted. Okay, so now that we have created a count from control point and went through it, I'm going to go ahead and create a count from the device. There is one implication here. When you create a count from the device, you will need to go to control point and add the workstations you want involved in that count. So I'm going to go ahead and create one by pushing the plus icon in the top right. Let's call it count 2. Next, give it a description. Let's say again, you have the same options here as you would if you're doing it from Control Point. So you can do master packs or add to on hand. It's also going to give you the option to create a scope. I'm not going to for this one. I'm just going to have a wide open count here. So at this point, we're going to have to go to Control Point and add my other workstation. So first off, we come into the different counts, select the one we just counted from the handheld, go to Workstations, and the only device that has not been added is my other one, which is device 1. So we'll click that, push Update, and now when we go back into this device, push Refresh, it's going to show that count. Okay, so at this point, both of these devices are participating in count 2. So I'll just go ahead and scan a few items. Okay. Alright, so we now have a little bit of count data here. Just go ahead and come over here, go to our counts, see count 2, has the products we counted, they're both showing as counted by multiple devices. And go ahead and stop that, okay. Commit it without zeros, and it's going to show up here in RMS in just a moment. Now if you remember on the cup, I took a picture of it. Let's see if I can find it here. There should actually be a picture under the item record in RMS. And there it is. It's also going to be at Control Point level. So if you come into products, take a look at the cup, it's going to show you your picture there. Alright, so that is creating an account from the handheld. Again, you can do it both ways, either from Control Point or the handheld. And we're going to cover a little bit more on Control Point itself in the next video. Thanks.